A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to our viewers and the participants for joining us for today's live legal talk show under the overarching theme of merger and acquisition, advancement and challenges from Taiwanese and Indian perspective. I am Aeshwarya, Senior Associate at Hammurabi and Sullivan Partners, and it is my privilege to moderate this insightful discussion on the merger and acquisition scenario of both India and Taiwan. Today's session featured an esteemed panel of legal experts who bring a wealth of knowledge on this topic in their respective jurisdiction and will give us insight on the sectors which are attracting investment in both the jurisdiction, challenges in the merger and acquisition transaction, and also about the recent regulatory development which one should be aware about. Let me introduce our distinguished panelists for today's session. We have Mr. Wang Yan, Managing Partner, Brain Trust International Law Firm, Taiwan. Mr. Ashutosh Das, partner at Hammurabi and Solomon Partners, and Mr. Siddhartha Patnaik, also partner at Hammurabi and Solomon Partners. Now, before we dive in on today's topic, allow me to give you a brief introduction of our firm. Our firm, Hammurabi and Solomon Partners, is a leading full-service law firm established in the year 2001. We are currently in our 25th year of operation, and over the years, our firm has built a reputation for providing comprehensive legal services across wide spectrum of practice areas. We are among the top 15 law firms in India, and we hold expertise in corporate advisory, merger and acquisition, data protection, compliances, litigation, arbitration, insolvency and bankruptcy, public policies, and real estate. We take pride in our team of over 100 professionals, including 18 plus experienced partners who bring diverse legal expertise to the table. Our team operates across multiple regions in India, including New Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Ranchi, Chennai, and Hyderabad, offering tailored solutions to meet the unique needs of a client with a commitment to excellence and a focus on client success. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to invite Mr. Hong to introduce his firm, Brain Trust International Law Firm, to our audience. Mr. Hong, over to you.
Thank you so much, the moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for inviting me to join this fantastic event. I'm Hong Ouyang. My first name is Hong, last name is Ouyang. Our firm is based in Taipei, Taiwan. We are a full-service law firm providing every service area that any foreign individual or company needs in Taiwan. We also assist Taiwanese companies and individuals to deal with their overseas dispute. Over the years, we have gained reputation in this area. For example, for the year of 2026, our firm has been ranked Tier 2 by the Legal 500 in dispute resolution, and we are also being recommended for the mergers and acquisitions. So thank you so much. This is our brief introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Hong, for introducing your firm to our viewers. Now, before we move ahead, let me just take you through the concerned topic of this webinar. The growth of merger and acquisition in any country can be attributed to the policies and the regulations of the government, the growth and the development of any sector, relationship a country have with another country or with the international organization, and even the commitments or any promises which any country make on the global stage can lead to development in the investment opportunities in that country. For example, from India's perspective, I would like to share the availability of the cheap and high-speed internet has expanded the number of internet user base, which has led to the emergence of many e-commerce companies and the service-based companies. Also, India's focus on the manufacturing sector and bringing policies around it, like Make in India initiative, ease of doing business initiative, taxation reform like GST, introduction of insolvency and bankruptcy code, easing foreign direct investment by allowing up to 100% FDI in many sectors have allowed the growth of many manufacturing entities. Further, India's commitment toward international accords like Paris Agreement, where India has determined its contributory target of reducing the carbon emission intensity by 45% by 2030, achieving non-fossil fuel capacity of 50% by 2030, and have a long-term goal of net zero emission by 2070. Government policies supporting these goals have encouraged the growth and development of many renewable energy companies, leading to many deals and investment in this sector. When we talk about M&A activity in India, it has remained strong across many sectors. According to International Monetary Fund projection, India is set to become the world's fourth largest economy very soon. The growth highlights India's increasing importance globally and signal a healthy M&A market that continues to attract both domestic and international investors. In fact, in the first three quarters of 2025 itself, India has recorded more than $26 billion across 650 plus transactions, which in terms of value is 37% more than when what we compare to last year. When we come to Taiwan, M&A market in 2025 has shown a continuous momentum, particularly in the semiconductor, green energy, AI, biotech, and financial sector, recording up to $2 billion in values from 250 plus transactions. Further, both the countries have collaborated recently in many aspects. For example, the Taiwanese companies have been instrumental in shaping India's electronic manufacturing ecosystem. For example, Foxconn, a global leader in the electronic manufacturing, have expanded its operation in India. The company has invested heavily in setting up a production facility for iPhone and other consumer electronics. Further, the recent acquisition of Wistron by Tata Electronics have marked the India's first major foray in the high-end electronic manufacturing. This acquisition has not only underscored India's growing capabilities but also highlights the strategic alignment between Taiwanese expertise and India's ambition. The aim of this webinar is to understand the sector, which can see a potential growth in M&A transaction just like semiconductor, regulatory and legal development impacting the M&A landscape in both the countries. So without taking any more time, let us start with today's discussion on the topic. So first of all, I would like to call upon Mr. Hong to give us an understanding on the sectors in Taiwan which are currently attracting investment, and what do you think are the potential sectors which can grow in future? Mr. Hong, over to you.
Thank you so much. But this is a fantastic topic because, as you have already introduced, India is, a fast-growing country. And, recently we have already found that many Taiwanese enterprises, as you have already mentioned, would like to invest or they have already invested in India. This is a fantastic country so that, for Taiwanese people or for any other country and any other enterprises, in other countries, we really need to know more about the current India legal structure about investment. In Taiwan, actually, we are a developed country. As you have already mentioned, the Taiwanese semiconductor business is the strongest industry in Taiwan or over the world. Taking that for example, so far, electric components sector, is still, least Taiwanese investment, here. For the year of 2025, the third quarter, we have around 428.3 billion in fixed asset investment. Actually, those investments are to be serve are to serve the semiconductor business. So, we, as you can see, in Taiwan, the electronic components business together with the semiconductor business are expanding. We're expanding in foundry, packaging, and testing capacities all surrounding the semiconductor, the chips. Another point that I would like to mention is the biotechnology business. It's kind of an emerging business because of Taiwanese government is supporting it by enacting multiple laws to use government fund to support this business. So it is highly potential. So as we can see that so far there are so many early stage funding in being invested in this area, many capitals flows in. This is partly because the Taiwan the population are growing older and older. This is a very serious problem in East Asia, like what you can see in Japan and in Taiwan. So in terms of the business like healthcare, yes, it's booming. It's booming, and we are going to see more and more, a business in this sector. That's the current general picture of the Taiwanese economy.
Thank you, Mr. Hong, for enlightening us about the potential sectors attracting investment in Taiwan. Just a small trivia I would like to share with all the nerds listening to us that the chips, the semiconductor, which you have just mentioned, has normally plays a very huge role in our daily lives. The phone we use, the laptop which we are using for our works, and even the car which we drive, possibly uses the made in Taiwan chip in their system. And the Taiwan is leading the semiconductor production world over, and it is often called the Silicon Shield in the geopolitical discussions. So my next question is to Mr. Das. Could you please highlight the sector in India that are currently in use for their investment potential and their growth perspective? Mr. Das, over to you.
Thank you, Aeshwarya. And I'm just taking one line in addition to what you have just asked. Since those chips, if you can correlate it as mind, that mind needs a body. India provides that body. It's a most populous country, and if the chips are getting sold out in India, we are the biggest market available. So for the business to be successful, it's a combination, and that's why there is a unique role for both the countries to get in touch with each other and work and try to find out more areas whereby we can work together. Uh, Again, coming back to your question, there are so many industry going in a right direction in India. As you have rightly said, we are poised to become the fourth largest economy. It's mostly driven by the internal consumption. So, but just to take a few sectors, fintech sector, whereby role of Taiwanese companies, they are really very helpful in providing support. But India has that advantage of having the manpower, or you can say trained manpower in IT sector, which is driving this. And to help this development, even the Indian government, they have tried to make the entire business really easy to go, and even a new, you can say, company can help the entire economy, because the government, they have given direction, which is like RBI Direction 2025. It started in May 2025, whereby key fact statement can be provided the borrower before acceptance. So it's like the government is trying to push the various agencies, they are trying to push the transparency part, because if the stakeholders are there on a same page, it will help the entire industry to boom. They have created provisions where they have put prohibition on the prepayment penalties, so that if the stakeholder, if the borrower is in a position to pay back the loan early, there should not be any prepayment. And there is particularly the 1st January 2026, uh, you will have one effective direction coming into play, where the government regulation makes it literally impossible to put prepayment. And that is a very, you can say, a good step to create a level playing field for both lender as well as borrower. There are some regulation which actually targets the financial influencer, because with the advent of this industry, this sector, there were so many players coming into the entire social media sector without having any proper regulation. And that created a situation whereby so many people got duped. So now, since the government is trying to take care of all these loopholes, I'm very hopeful that fintech sector is one big sector coming up in the future. Similarly, the real estate, whereby the government is not only harping on creating good smart cities, they are investing in developing the infrastructure, so that all these companies should not get only concentrated in the first tier, they should be going to second tier or third tier cities, whereby not only from a business perspective, even from the resources, the manpower resources perspective, these companies gets benefited. couple of more sectors like artificial intelligence, deep tech. In these sectors, the you can say the combined role of both these countries and the companies from both these countries will be one big thing for the entire globe to see, because this kind of relation between the Taiwanese and Indian companies is going to make a big difference globally. So whatever we are discussing, it's not going to limit to both these countries. It will have its impact globally. So yeah, over to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you, Mr. Das, for enlightening our viewer with the potential sectors for India for investment. I would just like to add one thing. Currently, we are going through the Amrit Kal, that is the period between the 75th year of our independence and the 100th year of our independence. So, as you have mentioned, that some of the sector which you have just highlighted, real estate or I can see that we can have a first mover advantage in these sectors, and I can see that we can contribute for the global growth with a focus on the fast-paced development of our own nation and the prosperity of our people. So, my next question is to Mr. Patnaik. Uh, can you please tell us what all are the recent developments which the government has introduced to simplify and facilitate the process of merger and acquisition in India? Mr. Patnaik, over to you.
Thank you, Asher, and good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr.
Good.
Das. Good evening, Mr. Hunt. It's a pleasure to be a part of this discussion. I agree with Mr. Das when Mr. Das said that it's all in mind. I mean, it started with the mind, the things that we make, the things that we use into everybody's in our life, in day-to-day life. It is all needed. These are the things. But coming to the regulatory part, the government of India has done quite a bit in the last 1 year to bring out a lot of changes in that. So it has brought expansion of fast track merger framework. Like Ministry of Corporate Affairs has notified the companies compromise arrangement and amalgamation amendment rules 2025, whereby it has widened the scope of companies eligible to undertake restructuring without requiring the National Company Law Tribunal and CLT's approval, thereby reducing timelines, regulatory hurdles, and transaction cost. There are four changes which have been brought by these rules. So I will explain these rules. One is enhancement of debt thresholds for the schemes of unlisted companies. Schemes of merger and demergers between the unlisted companies can now be implemented under the fast track route, provided that each company involved in such restructuring has outstanding loans or deposits that do not exceed in aggregate of 200 crore. Further, there should be no default in repayment of such loans. So one is enhancement of debt threshold. Second is your corporate restructuring between holding and subsidiary companies, where fast track merger or any other corporate restructuring now permitted between the holding company and a subsidiary, including non-wholly owned subsidiary, if the transferor company is unlisted. Third, the corporate restructuring between fellow subsidiary companies. The amendment provides fast track route available for merger and demergers between one or more subsidiaries of a holding company with one or more subsidiaries of the same holding company, as long as the transferor companies are unlisted. This significantly facilitates for a faster implementation of intra-group restructuring and group structure rationalization without needing an approval from NCLT. So we don't need to, these are all fast track mechanism. Then fourth is the cross-border merger integration. This amendment now permits for fast track merger between a foreign holding transfer company and an Indian wholly owned subsidiary transfer company. So the second thing that which the government has decided to think deferred consideration structures in the merger and acquisition landscape in India. We have seen that is a growing trend of use of deferred consideration mechanism, which is earnouts, installment payment rather than the full upfront payment. linking part of the price to future performance milestones or stagger payouts. So now we have FEMA regulation, which facilitates deferred consideration in cross-border secondary transfers between residents and non-residents up to 25% of total consideration, provided such deferred amount is paid within 18 months. Such deferred amount is held in escrow for up to 18 months or covered under an indemnity arrangement where full payment is made upfront but indemnity covers adjustment. Provided the entire consideration, including deferred portion, must comply with the fair value requirements. In each part of the 2025 Reserve Bank of India, now RBI has updated its master direction on foreign investment, which confirmed that the FOCCs, foreign-owned or controlled companies in India, can use the same deferred consideration structure as foreign acquirers, provided all FEMA conditions are met. This updation from the RBI has ensured uniformity, legal certainty, and smoother deal structure. However, it is worth noting that while these provisions apply to secondary transfers, deferred payments are not permitted in primary issuance of equity instrument to foreign investors. The third, which is very important, is a deal value threshold of Competition Commission of India. Now, India's merger and control framework was significantly revised in September 2024, most notably through the introduction of deal value threshold, DVT. The DVT creates an additional trigger for mandatory CCI notification aimed at capturing high-value transactions, especially in sectors like digital services and pharmaceuticals, where targets may have low assets or turnover, but high strategic value driven by data, intellectual property, or network effects. It is also designed to bring clear acquisition within CCI scrutiny. Under the new regime, even if a diminished target exemption is there on the target company, CCI has to be notified of it. Now, the value of the transaction exceeds 2,000 crore. The target has substantial business operations SBOs in India. The fourth is the taxation reforms. Now, some of the major steps that has been taken by the government in taxation in recent times are abolition of angel tax on the share premiums in unlisted companies. This tax frequently trigger valuation disputes, especially in startup investment round, and often resulted in protracted litigation or delays in funding. Its removal has strengthened investor sentiment, reduced compliance burden, facilitated smoother merger and acquisition activity within the startup ecosystem. Amendment in the provision of the carry forward losses also has been introduced. The government have discouraged the practice of evergreening of losses. Earlier, when a merger took place, the 8-year limitation period of utilizing accumulated losses would restart post-merger. However, the new law restricts loss carry forward to the unexpired portion of the original 8-year window, effectively curbing long-term tax arbitrage opportunities and preventing merger undertakings primarily for tax benefit. So these are the four issues, four heads under which the regulatory mechanism has been changed. The regulatory mechanism have been modified, have been updated to suit the most easier way of merger and acquisition to make the country business friendly and to attract foreign investors. So these are the regulatory part where the government has taken a lot of these initiatives. Aeshwarya.
Thank you, Mr. Patnaik, for your valuable insights. So the reforms which you have just mentioned, like fast-track merger framework, where they have allowed the foreign holding companies, and the deferred consideration for the foreign-owned and controlled companies in India, I think these kind of regulation will certainly boost more and more cross-border transactions. And the reforms which they have brought in the taxation might the I would say. people who get into transaction just for a tax benefit, they will not be entering for that sake only. So my next question is to Mr. Hong. Can you please tell us what all are the challenges which one might encounter in a merger and acquisition in a developed economy like Taiwan? And additionally, if you can just highlight about the recent regulatory development to address these challenges. Mr. Hong, over to you.
Thank you so much. Under this in this context, it is as the topic turns out, apparently merger and acquisition always would trigger past concerns, right? We have already seen so many tax reforms in India to entice this kind of a transactions to become better. So in Taiwan, we are also facing very similar problems. So that our government is amending the laws, trying to do some tax reforms. Let me give you some basic background here in Taiwan. Generally speaking, in Taiwan, there will be no securities income tax, generally speaking. So under this rule, whenever you have some capital gains, it appears that you do not have to pay any more tax. What you have to pay is the minimal securities exchange tax. So it's kind of very minimal. So that's the general picture in Taiwan. However, when the government looks at it, they would understand that it is not a very good situation. So the government would say that whenever you are doing this kind of securities exchange, so the individual would still be taxed for their basic income. So that would be apparently more than 10% for each for the capital gains based on that transaction. So in this context, for example, yesterday I just concluded, a merger case. It's a transaction, for a closely held business. So when they are doing the merger and the acquisition, based on for the issuing of the certificate of shares, then they only have to pay minimum securities exchange tax. For the overseas transactions, no, there will be no such benefits. So for any overseas transaction, the government will say, there will be the basic income tax more than 10%. Gradually, in this year, as we are seeing that the semiconductor business is booming and semiconductor business in Taiwan is so very strong, our government probably aims to make it become stronger and bigger. So this year, in around August 2025, a new law was enacted, but it has not been put into practice. The new law said, like what the prior speaker just mentioned, there will be some deferred tax incentive for some specific industry designated by the Taiwan Development Council. The new law said that whenever the so-called Taiwan Development Council designate a certain business as the national industry, specific national industry, then when those industries are doing the mergers and acquisitions, the shareholders who are selling their properties can enjoy the deferred tax incentive. So as you can see, that this is that's the future aim of Taiwanese government. For because we are assuming that semiconductor business and the relevant electronic component business will be designated as that specific industries. So their aim is to make this industry become much bigger by giving tax incentives. That's the current picture of Taiwan.
Okay. Thank you for your valuable insight, Mr. Hong. I am pretty sure these regulatory developments and the challenges which you have just mentioned must give us insight on how the transaction is being carried out in your jurisdiction. So my next question is to Mr. Das. Reverse merger in India has been gaining momentum in the recent times. So please tell us what is the current scenario of reverse merger in India, and why do you think that the companies are opting for this unconventional form of corporate restructuring? Mr. Das, over to you.
Just for my viewers whom we are kind of addressing these things, uh, to give you a little bit of background, it's a type of restructuring which is in contrast to the traditional way of restructuring, is like a private company purchasing a public limited company, or you can say a subsidiary company acquiring the holding company. So it's not conventional, because generally the moment we think about all these transactions, we always perceive that a bigger company or a holding company coming up, creating uh, you can say mergers and acquisitions for a smaller one, but it's a reverse. So these unconventional type of arrangements are gaining more and more traction among the corporates, wherein such corporate restructuring not only provides the traditional benefit of economies of scale of production, reduction in cost, but it also gives them opportunities of tax benefit. So some of the very specific reasons for choosing reverse merger, you can say a quick access to stock market, because reverse merger offers a more cost effective way to tap into these public market benefits than going to IPO route. And again, going to IPO route actually means going through various compliance cycles and sticking to each and every compliance requirement. So it's a faster way. In fact, there is a growing trend of companies, uh, you can say for the listed entities admitted for corporate insolvency before the Honorable NCLT, with the intention to acquire them through reverse merger, with the intention to have access to security market, because these things comes, you can say, and when I'm saying easy, it's a comparative analysis, a normal route versus a reverse merger. So whenever I say easy, it's not actually easy, it's a comparative easy. So recently, a different publicly listed company named Precision Continuous Limited, which deals in manufacturing of steel and plastic containers.
Right, right.
It was acquired by East India Drums and Barrel Manufacturing Company in order to avail the benefit to easily access the security market. So these are various things like tax planning and saving, whereby as per the 72A of Income Tax Act 1961, you get that benefit. And that's why people are kind of, once they have unlocked all the normal route benefits, now corporates are getting better advice of maximizing such activities, such transactional outcome. And that's why all these things are coming into light. So, and even on the regulation of reverse merger, in India, the term reverse merger, reverse takeover is nowhere mentioned specifically in the rules and regulation as issued by MCA, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, or Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, and is treated similar lines with the other forms of corporate structuring. So what you're doing is you're taking benefit of one type of activity without having a specific set of compliance coming your way, because this is not been recorded as of now. Going forward, government may come up with some sort of regulation, but at present, this absence of the term reverse merger or reverse takeover gives you advantageous position to take benefit of the situation. So this, to conclude this, despite the upsurge and growing inclination of a new startup and reasonably big unlisted companies for choosing this mechanism, for going public in time-saving manner by bypassing the cumbersome compliance under the Indian laws. And since it's a kind of beneficial for all the stakeholders, government, they are keeping a tab of it, but they are kind of allowing it as of now. So over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Das, for explaining the concept of reverse merger to our viewers. So now we are just coming to some sector-specific questions. My next question is to Mr. Hong. As we discussed in the beginning of this webinar, Taiwan is known for its dominance in the semiconductor and electronic industry world over. Could you please explain the Taiwan Fair Trade Commission role in the corporate restructuring of within these sectors? And also, please highlight what all are the red flags which they examine while approving such deals. Mr. Hong, over to you.
Thank you so much. Again, maybe I can again, echo what I was just saying about our government's attitude on the semiconductor business. For the newly amended act, our government is aiming to aiming to make this to make this industry become stronger and bigger by giving tax incentives, right? So in Taiwan, as you can see, the semiconductor and electronic industries are key sectors, supported by those policies. And in addition to that, according to our National Development Plan, the newest one, these industries are identified as core strategic industries prioritized for government support. In line with this policy, the Taiwan Fair Trade Commission, which governs the mergers and acquisitions case, in practice, as I am looking at it, I would say, making this comment, maybe they would never attempted to block any mergers or acquisitions related to these industries, semiconductor or electric components, nor applied any stricter review standards. This is not the case in other business in Taiwan. Apparently not, because the last year, I was holding a seminar on a very famous merger and acquisition case in Taiwan last year. Is Uber's case. Uber would like to acquire all the business of Food Panda. Is in regards to the food delivery business in Taiwan, it is a kind of a well, that's a very big pie. Mainly shared by Food Panda and Uber in Taiwan. So that case triggers so many concerns because of the concern with regard to the restriction of market competition. In that case, Taiwanese FTC made a decision forbidding that merger. However, when we are looking at the semiconductor business, maybe that will not, the FTC maybe will not use the very same standard. So in doing so, that's the Taiwanese policy. So maybe we can also imagine a scenario where the Taiwanese semiconductor business and the relevant electronic component business, when they would like to invest in India, merger similar business in India, I would say, yeah, maybe that will be very welcome by the Taiwanese government. And we are looking forward to that kind of situation, because we have a very good partner. That's your law firm, who will be able to support Taiwanese business. We are looking forward to it. So let me go back to this topic. So that is as we can see, the semiconductor business and the electronic industries, they do have competitors distributed globally, facing intensive competition. Mergers and acquisitions within these sectors maybe have limited impact on market competition or market structure. So Taiwanese Fair Trade Commission, in my assumption, they will maintain the same role in the near future, unlike any other business area in Taiwan. So that's that's my view, and hopefully that can not only help the Taiwanese investors to know what's going on here, and maybe can let our India audiences know that maybe they will welcome more about Taiwanese business, especially in the Taiwanese semiconductor business. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hong, for your valuable insight on the semiconductor market of Taiwan. So my next question is to Mr. Patnaik. Can you please explain it to our viewers that in the recent years, India has been a signatory of the Paris Agreement, and in the recent years, India has shifted its focus on the renewable energy sector. Could you please talk on the recent development in this sector, and how do you think the investment potential of this sector? Mr. Patnaik, over to you.
Yes, Aeshwarya, I think renewable is new gold, and
Yes,
India is
yes,
committed
true.
to reach net zero emissions by 2070, and increasing its renewable energy target to 500 gigawatt by 2030, which has spurred and then the entire industry, renewable industry, and it has seen unprecedented growth in the industry. Now, the recent growth in the renewable sector, I can give you some example on that. India's contribution from the renewable energy have increased almost fourfold. In 2013-14, the contribution was 12.92%, which was increased to 45.50% as of March 2025. And India's renewable energy capacity has already reached 227 gigawatt, making a 4,000 surge in solar capacity. In fact, India is likely the first G20 nation to meet its Paris Agreement in these nationally determined contribution targets. So this year itself, India's renewable energy sector posted record-breaking growth, adding 22 gigawatts of capacity, which is 56% year-on-year growth. So for investment, you see, India is empowering startup and MSME to scale up the clean energy solutions through decentralized and efficient technologies. Further, the amount of FDI we have seen and the share of renewable energy in total foreign direct investment inflows, which rose from 1% in FY21 to around 8% in FY25. In fact, the first 3 quarters of the current financial year, the renewable energy sector attracted 3.4 US billion dollar in FDI, which is almost equivalent to an entire FDI of the previous year. In order to meet its commitment to Paris Agreement, India is set to invest huge amount of investment, and investing in total about 360 billion USD in renewable energy and infrastructure by 2030. So quite a lot of investment which is coming up in terms of FDI, a lot of scope, and both in hydro, solar, and as well as the new areas of green ammonia, green hydrogen, pumped storage projects like that. Now, budget, what the government is doing to support this, in budget 2025, there is a production-linked incentive PLI scheme, which has been extended. The PLI scheme has been extended to renewable energy sector to enhance India's renewable energy infrastructure. In this year annual budget, approximately US $2.75 billion has been allocated for domestic manufacturing of solar photovoltaic cells, wind turbines, batteries, and electrolytes. With this scheme, India wishes to focus on local production where it can reduce dependence on imports and further drive down the cost of renewable energy technologies. There are tax relief and incentives, tax holiday on solar power projects. Solar energy remains the dominant contributor to India's renewable energy growth, accounting to 47% of total installed renewable energy capacity. In order to further incentivize the investment in solar sector, the government has extended the tax holidays for solar power projects for an additional 5 years. So this is one of the biggest tax holiday which has given on the solar power project. Similarly, tax relief has been given for the electrical vehicle production. In the boost to the EV sector, government in this year budget has included tax relief measures to promote the production of electric vehicles, which include elimination of basic custom duty on lithium and lithium-ion batteries used in electric vehicles and exemption of customs duty on 35 capital goods essential for battery production. Then you have the National Green Hydrogen Mission. Green hydrogen is also emerging as a replacement to the fossil fuels and can reduce emission up to 10 to 15% in the long run. India is also looking to establish as a key player in the global green hydrogen market. Hence, it has started with the National Green Hydrogen Mission. India wishes to invest in a phased manner over the multiple years in this sector. Solar rooftop is something which has got the government's backing. The government has launched Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana, where the government has allocated nearly 2.30 USD to improve the solar rooftop in household. It aims to empower 10 million residential households to get their own electricity, whereby it can enhance households to save on electricity cost, promote energy independence, and contribute towards decarbonization. So this program is expected to add 3,600 megawatt of solar power capacity to India's grid, furthering India's solar energy target of 280 gigawatt by 2030. Lastly, the government has launched nuclear energy mission. And the recently bill that was introduced in the parliament, where the government also tries to bring in the private companies into the nuclear sector also. So the nuclear energy mission talks about where the government has an ambitious target of 100 gigawatt nuclear power capacity in 2047. There is another fact it's called pump storage project, green ammonia, which you talked about, which is coming under the green hydrogen mission project. Now, the various recent transaction to give that what has happened in the merger and acquisition, which has happened in the energy sector. JSW Energy has made a major expansion by acquiring O2 Power's renewable platform. It was approximately 4,696 megawatt, and a large chunk of Mitra's Energy's portfolio, which is around 1,753 megawatt. Similarly, Brookfield Renewable Partners brought a 3 gigawatt solar plus storage pipeline. Semco expanded its Indian footprint by buying renewable solar assets in Rajasthan. Wari Energies acquired Enel Green Power India to strengthen its marketplace. So you will see that in coming years, more investment, more merger and acquisition is happening, more churning of the assets between the big companies are also happening. So it's going to be a sunrise industry in the next decade or so. Over to you, Aeshwarya.
Thank you, Mr. Patnaik, for your insight on the renewable energy sector of India. As you rightly mentioned that rooftop electricity, solar electricity mission, the nuclear energy mission, and the national green hydrogen mission, India and the government is trying to untap the potential which we have in the renewable sector. And also in the recent time, we have seen that many renewable energy companies have gone for the listing in on the stock exchange. Many IPOs are coming up for these kind of companies. So yes, we see a very bright future for this sector, and the target which we have of 2070, where we are planning to have a net zero emission. So I think for the next 3-4 decades, we will see a good run in this particular sector.
You will
So with
also
this
see
remark,
that
yeah,
you will also see that the nuclear sector is also being open to the private sector.
right.
Till now, it
It
was,
is,
yes, the Atomic
yeah,
Energy Act and everything is being now updated, and then new act is going to. So the government is very bullish on all these
right.
sectors. So
Right. And it's actually very good in long term for all of us. I mean, the kind of atmosphere which we are facing in Delhi right now, I think for the long term, this is the only way that we shift to renewable energy. And
yes,
yeah, that's how the world will benefit in a long run. So, with this remark, we are coming to the end of this session. Thank you to our esteemed panelists for your insight and to the audience for your patience and engagement. We hope that this session provide you a valuable takeaway for your future ventures. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Hong. Thank you, Ashutosh, sir, and Siddharth, sir, for your time. And thank you, and have a great day. Great day.
Thank you, everyone. It
thank
was
you,
real
everyone.
pleasure talking to
Thank
you
you,
Thank
all.
you.
thank you, Mr. Das.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Ramesh.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you, Mr.
Bye.
Thank you.